and issues they've had since the new regulations were enforced. I'm just going to read just a statement to get everything going, and then I'm going to turn it over to the business owners. And so first, I just want to thank you for keeping the lines of communication open with our business owners and allowing for this opportunity. The village has gone to great lengths to make sure the voice of our business owners has been included in the creation of new parking strategies, and the Chamber is thankful for that. Still, now that the new parking regulations are enforced, some issues have come to the forefront. In particular, a growing number of business owners have been reporting to me large number of unhappy patrons who have received tickets or are having trouble figuring out the parking and how to use the machines. They've come into the stores angry, stating they'll never shop Patchogue again. Many also report having trouble using the machines. Now, this is something that should be expected. There's always time needed to learn something new. And further, no one is ever happy receiving a ticket, and many are not shy to express their anger about it. But still, nothing can be more damaging to the morale of a business owner than an unhappy customer stating he'll never shop at their location again. So I just have a couple of little remedies that I was thinking about that hopefully can add to the discussion tonight as maybe to try to alleviate some of these concerns. And the first is that I would ask the village to maybe consider allowing a new grace period on parking regulations, as well as adjusting the parking enforcement procedures. Now, I recognize, and we're very thankful, that the village gave a full month of a grace period before they enforced the new parking regulations earlier this year. But still, keep in mind that that month was in the midst of a particular harsh winter that kept many from shopping downtown Patchogue. Now with the warmer weather, we're happy to see many people are returning and visiting our business district again, but they're still not aware of the meters and new parking regulations. So that's why I suggest a new grace period for a few weeks leading up to Memorial Day could be very helpful. And matter of fact, I would even propose that we would call this new grace period Parking in Patchogue Education Weeks, and use this time to hold forums, organize volunteer parking greeters that will be on the street to help educate people with the machines, along with considering other initiatives designed to educate the public about parking in Patchogue. Further, in regards to enforcement, I recommend we make enforcement as friendly or a little more friendly or as friendly as possible. In this day and age of improving technology, there has to be a system that can allow for a permanent parking enforcement procedure that always gives the first-time offender a warning only. Whether by license plate or registration number, I suggest any first-time parking offender be given a very friendly warning, thanking them for shopping Patchogue, alerting them that they're in violation, and then asking them to please be aware of that the next time they come down to visit. Then, any second-time offender, there is little ground for that person to argue that they weren't aware. This can also add to the education component of the new regulations as well. Now, I know the village did implement a similar policy and suggest this concept be made permanent, so a first-time offender will always avoid a ticket. The potential loss of revenue and fines would certainly be made up in the goodwill this policy could create. Another suggestion I have is revisiting the moratorium on new restaurants in Main Street. Now, when comparing Main Street Patchogue today to previous Patchogue heydays, obviously what stands out is the increased number of bar restaurants and entertainment venues and the decrease in our retail establishments. I think we can all agree that the average patron visiting a restaurant will have a longer parking need than the average retail patron. This is a direct cause of our current parking stress. Yet, as soon as a vacancy appears in our business district right now, a new restaurant proposal appears with it. With this said, I know the village just completed a similar moratorium. And the results of that moratorium did produce new legislation that requires new and expanding restaurants to contribute funding to support increased parking, which will be very helpful. Certainly the new restaurants and entertainment venues have had a tremendous positive effect on Patchogue, attracting thousands of new patrons, and that's wonderful. But as the number of these establishments continues to grow, the negative stress on our parking grows with it. It's not a stretch to state that we're currently at a tipping point when it comes to our parking situation. Parking issues are beginning to chip away at all the great success of the past decade. We continue to add to the stress. We can continue to add to the stress. We need a new restaurant moratorium until plans to increase parking opportunities, such as expanded lots or parking structures, are more concretely underway. I think it's fair to state we are probably 2 years away from seeing any expansion to our downtown parking. We need to make a stand now to avoid approving anything that requires additional parking until we actually add some additional parking spaces. Now, I know I'm only stating the obvious in the middle of making some friendly suggestions to consider, Again, I commend the mayor and the village board for your leadership that has resulted in the resurgence of downtown Patchogue thus far. It is because of this I remain confident we will solve this issue and anticipate we will continue to include the needs and concerns of our local merchants and the business owners. Thank you, and I'll just turn it over to our business owners.
Thank you, David. What I'm going to ask is that as you come up to speak, if what you have to say is basically what the person before you had to say, we don't need to keep repeating the same issues. We really want to get to the core of the problem so we can help solve. And David, thank you very much. Your comments are well received. And if you have that in a written form,
Yes,
you
I
can
will
give
present
it
that, yeah.
to trustees. Yeah. Once a trustee, always a trustee. You get that to the village clerk so we can put it into the minutes in its entirety. Also, when you do come up, kind of limit your comments. One of the things we're not going to discuss, and Deputy Mayor Krieger is going to actually handle the hearing, is we will not get specific tickets and things like that. Those are things that our council will confirm are really to be dealt with before it gets to it. But Deputy Mayor.
How many people are going to speak? Oh, good. Now, again, as the mayor said, we're here to listen, and as David's kindly mentioned, that we have worked with everybody with concerns and have addressed those things. And I've always said that our parking situation in Patchogue, the meter situation, is a fluid situation. We have adapted to many needs. We're putting more signs up. We're trying to educate people by putting signs up that say metered parking, strictly enforced, so everybody out there knows that they need to pay money in the meter. So, if you have questions, we will not take questions about if you've gotten a ticket and you're here to talk about a specific ticket that you've received, we will not address that issue, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's something that's got to be adjudicated, only because open tickets are pending in the justice court, so we can't address specific tickets. We want to talk about a hypothetical or a scenario or a vagary in the law or where some item is. Please don't interpret the board's reluctance to address specific tickets or specific spots as rudeness. It is just that there are pending tickets, and those defenses would be raised by the justice court for the prosecutor.
And when you come up, please state your name and your address or business that you're here representing. Who's ready to speak? Lori.
Good evening, everybody. Lori Belmonte from the Colony Shop on Main Street. Just a few comments, a couple of ideas. One, the enforcement, they're very, very eager to get tickets. I had somebody come in the store, give me $1 for 4 quarters. By the time he got out to the meter, he already had a ticket. Very upset. I told him to come to Village Hall and fight it, but in the meantime, you're not even talking about a 5-minute time period. As far as signage, there are so many, signs on Main Street. I don't think people pay attention anymore. There's just too much signage. If you're going to put meters, especially in the parking lots, it's going to be suicide for the local business people, especially during the day. My customers are not going to pay to park in a parking lot. Part of the problem is not even that paying for putting the meters in the parking lot, there's no place to park. My customers are not going to park behind the library and walk to me. They're not going to park behind Chase Bank and walk to me. They want convenience. So my opinion is the parking in the parking lot should be free, and they have to ease up on enforcement. They need to give people time, even if they're shopping and if their time runs out. There needs to be a grace period. That's it.
Just to address the grace, there is a grace period of 50 minutes. But we'll consider, I just want to let you know that.
Not all the time.
Never.
Never, because I've had customers tell me, by the time they get out to put meter in the meter, they've already gotten the ticket.
David.
Hello, David Ziegel, Minor Shoes, AKA David Shoe Emporium, 66 East Main Street. As the proprietor of a 65-year-old business in Patchogue and owning it for the last 20 years and working here since I knew how to tie a shoe, I plead with you to rethink the metered parking in the lots. In this newly developing village, I may be considered part of the old guard. Definition to guard: a state in which someone is carefully looking for possible danger, threats, or problems. I feel like it is my responsibility to raise the awareness of the dangerous threat to our businesses and livelihoods by adding this additional toll on our customers, clients, and patrons. By adding this surcharge to their shopping and dining, you will end up with all the parking spots you need without building a single new lot. We could talk all night about what should have been done before the parking situation got to this point, but that is not going to solve the problems at hand. And I believe by adding the parking tax to the back lots, we will make things even worse. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Mark?
Mark Siegel from Blums. I've been up here before to tell you. I have a sign on my door. Everybody, most people see it. But I never used to stand outside the front. But lately, that's what I have to do. Be sure that, and I'm showing people how to put money in the meter they don't have. Well, they can't figure it out. But in the back, when you put in the back, I know you guys said you're going to do it 2 hours, and I expected before. A woman takes 3 hours to get a bathing suit. 3 hours.
It's gonna be 4 hours.
Oh, good. Okay, that's what I want to know.
There are
Okay.
some areas
Thank
gonna
you.
be 4 hours, and
Thank
some
you.
areas gonna
And
be
the
2
girls
hours.
keep bothering me about where they're going to park. I said, you park out there, kids. Customer comes first. We get new customers every day from Nassau County, Queens. They see our advertisement, we advertise. 2 radio stations, Newsday, Pulse. I spend a lot of money on them. I don't know anybody else spends so much money as we do. But we are one of the biggest retailers in Patchogue left. So we're about to put a lot of money into our store in that Labor Day. A lot of money. Thank you.
And I just want to correct something that David, on David, just to let you know that in the parking lots, we have scheduled where most of the spaces will be free during the day, and then after 6 p.m. we'll go into pay.
Okay.
But most of them, the ones closest to the stores will be paid from 10 to the 2 a.m. But a vast majority of the spaces will be free up until 6 o'clock. I'll address issues like that, so just to correct anyway. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rafael from 612 Ocean Avenue. I'm on the new flower shop. Behind my store, I have 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I was wondering, as business owners, we would have like a sticker or we pay the GR parking because I can't run outside all the time.
Your lot will not be metered.
I have 2 hours parking.
You do have 2-hour limits,
Yes.
but we're working on that lot right now. We're working on some changes on the signage. We put new signs up, and then we've got a request from another business there to adjust that. We're working on that to make it where there's no limits and you can park there all day if you need to.
Okay.
Okay? We're working on that.
Okay,
Should be
thank you.
solved in the next few weeks.
Hi, Georgia Stevens, lifelong resident of Patchogue on Jane Avenue. Aside from all my personal issues about parking, I'm going to get into those, but I want to address something that has been pretty much dear to my heart. Supposed jewel in the crown of Patchogue, the theater, which has been responsible for bringing in so many restaurants and so on. And what is going to be done about theater parking? I know I have volunteered there over 15 years, and it has already affected advanced sales because people are already worrying about the parking. As volunteers, they are also concerned, and you know the average age of the volunteer at the Patchogue Theater. And they're not going to be running out in the middle of a show if it's 4 or 5 hours. They're there sometimes all day and run out, feed a meter, or do whatever, or park miles away to volunteer. So you volunteer, but you have to pay to volunteer, and it's not paid. Obviously, it's an inconvenience. And when Gateway has their shows, the matinees particularly, some of the people can't even walk in, much less park God only knows where. So I was trying to get some information on free parking here, and what we get out of that was there'll be free parking, but they don't know where, and nobody seems to understand, say, the library and whatever. That's just mainly I'm concerned with the theater, and I know it's affecting sales.
I'm concerned with the theater too.
Okay.
One of the things, behind the Congregational Church, that entire parking lot will be free
That's
24
still
hours
going
a
to
day.
be free.
By the theater, strictly behind Blum's and those areas, that's going to be metered for 4 hours during the day, and then the ones behind them will be free. So it's that first section that's going to be metered, and everything behind that and the Congregational Church will be free all the time.
Now, I know particularly at evening shows, a lot of the women would like to park on Main Street, because they felt safer going in and out of the theater, 11 o'clock at night and so on. So is there going to be anything nearby where people like that will be able to park or get some kind of,
We haven't discussed that yet
Yeah.
as far as free, because we have a lot of volunteers in the village. We
yeah,
have a lot of,
right, I know.
we have a lot of people that, and we're discussing different options on how to solve those situations. So we're addressing it.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. Next. Anyone else? Yes.
I don't have any notes. I'm Trish Alley from that Maple Place. A couple of things that we were talking about in our business. Number one, I live in Port Jefferson, so I've seen what's happened down there and how a lot of my friends that own restaurants and bars in the village are really frustrated with what happened down there. And they're now happy that it's happening to us down here because they feel like a lot of the people that live in the middle of Long Island, say in Core and Middle Island, they can go north or they can go south. They've all been coming south, and the North Shore has suffered because of it. And talking to a friend today that was unhappy with what happened to his business because of the parking, he said, well, finally, now it's going to be equal. You guys can suffer as much as we did. Now, with that being said, we know it's not going to go away. We don't want the lot behind us to be metered. That would be really difficult for even our employees and the customers and whatnot. I guess what we're looking for is solutions. Maybe a trolley car that can take people somewhere, that can pick you up and take you back and forth to a lot because it is so hard. Maybe a lot that you can park in, but then there's going to be like a big arm that would go up and down, and people could stay as long as they like, and on the way out they would get to validate their coupon and then pay whatever it is they need to pay. I don't know if that is something that could be done, especially behind us. Another problem that we see is that people are drinking and driving in any of the establishments. Then they're getting ticketed for leaving their car there when they're trying to just be safe and not get behind the wheel. That's kind of an issue that I've heard people complain about. It's just trying to find a solution because as much as we hear a lot of good things happening in Patchogue, it's kind of like they go, oh, Patchogue is doing amazingly well, and it looks beautiful, and the restaurants, and the way the vibe is amazing, and then you hear, but the parking. And it's kind of like, you hear this and you hear this. And every person that has been to our establishment over the last 4 months, it's like, oh, it's so great, but the parking. So I don't know if there are solutions, maybe getting people to, I know in 2 years they're gonna build something, but that's still 2 years away. We don't wanna turn all those people away that have now been reunited with Patchogue and now get them, I don't know where else they're gonna go, but, you know, where, we don't wanna turn them off again, now that they're all coming back here. And you guys worked so hard at building it back up, what can we do to not have it decline? Because I've watched it happen in Port Jeff. I'm sure you guys know people on the board of Port Jeff, and it's terrible. I'm a resident, so I don't have to pay, but I watch people struggle at these machines. And what they did in Port Jeff was at 10 o'clock, then they stopped collecting money at 10 o'clock on the weekends. And sometimes that's hard. If people go from one establishment to the other, and your car's all the way down by the Emporium, and you want to hang out at Gaio, you don't want to walk all the way back to, I know you can validate from anywhere, but, you know, to have to worry about getting your car out, if it's in the meter lot behind us, when that becomes a meter, those are all things that people are going to be concerned with. So just some of my thoughts, suggestions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, trustee Clark.
No, I'll let this.
I'm Kathleen Zagaris, Family Ballet Center. We've been here in this town over 56 years, and we're proud of that. Parking has helped in the past, and it doesn't help us at all now. I've got, same as everyone else says, I hate to repeat it, but it has to be repeated. Customers telling me they're going to go elsewhere, and with internet business, that happens all the time to us. Teachers wanting us to move, but Patchogue has been our home, and we really don't want to move. So something really needs to be done. Also, we have a lesson program, which is our mainstay for income, and customers will pull them back to the store. They have no place to park every half hour, coming and going. And they get bullied a lot when they pull up in the back of the store about moving. And I think if we had some kind of a loading zone, if they could pull in and out, would be a little helpful. Yeah, it would help a little bit. Also, as people turn into the street, there has to be a stop sign there. People go speeding down past the arts building, and you can't, when there's cars parked there, you can't see. And they're constantly speeding down that way, so there needs to be something to slow it down a little bit.
Take a look at that, thank you.
Can you spell your last name for the record? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's Zguris.
Glad I asked.
Trustee Clark.
Good evening, everyone. I'm representing the Congregational Church, which has been on Main Street since before the turn of the previous century and has been in existence in this village for nearly 225 years. Now, that having been said, we need, on occasion, to be able to block 2 spaces in front of the church.
Just to save a little time, I communicated with the Reverend on this,
Okay.
like 2 weeks ago. And the cone, he'll be able to put the cones out when there's a wedding or a funeral or anything like that.
Well, if you could resolve the sandwich board issue, but we're not going to invest in the sandwich board until we know what the dimensions are legally, etc. So as soon as that gets resolved, we won't have to worry about cones.
Yeah, the cones seem to
Okay.
work fairly well.
All right, well, as you can appreciate, we are in a unique situation.
Yes.
And,
We make exceptions for the clergy.
okay, because there were problems. Now, can I switch to being a resident of the village? Okay. We have wonderful restaurants here. And I used to be in the private catering business, so I know what it means to book a reservation and get all the materials together and then have someone cancel at the very last minute. I have been talking to friends of mine who do not live in the village. I have not done this myself personally and never would. But these are individuals who do not live in the village. And they tell me that they routinely make 3, possibly 4 dinner reservations at various restaurants in the village, all for the same time, let's say 7 o'clock. And they drive by the restaurants and they go to the first one that has an available space in front of it. And if they don't find a space, they go to Stateville.
They won't park in the back.
They go to Stateville, they'll go to Bellport, they'll go wherever, they'll go to Port Jeff even, which is, you know, a bit of a hike, but they'll go to Port Jeff. So, I'm not in the restaurant business.
We have your friends' names and phone numbers.
Yeah, right. Put them on the watch list for any restaurant.
I have strongly chastised them for doing this. I think it is absolutely wrong, but they're not the only ones. So this is just something to take into consideration.
But even when you go to the mall at Christmas, you can't find a spot right in front. I mean, people have to walk any place that's popular. No matter how much parking you have, you can't create more parking in front of whatever.
Okay.
You really can't.
Well, I've also heard from someone who owns a restaurant that he knows.
But it sounds like they're looking for proximity, and creating more parking a block away won't create more proximity.
I'm just telling you,
No,
that you need to be aware of
I
that.
am 100%.
And I'm sure the restaurant owners are aware of it, unfortunately.
Well, I 100% agree with you, but the unfortunate part about it is that even, you know, in the worst times we have more parking than we ever knew what to do with empty lots. We always thought we had an adequate amount of parking. The success of the places such as Meatballs, Parabells, Gallo, the restaurants, their success has created the problem that we have. You know, I never expected, I don't think any of us expected, but this is the situation we're in. And one of the reasons for the meters themselves is so we have the funding to be able to create the additional parking that we need. One of the things that we can't do, we can't go to the resident taxpayer. The guy down on Cedar Avenue, the guy up on Jane Avenue, the guy up on Maple Avenue, and ask them to pay for the parking to support the businesses on Main Street. In 1959-60, under Mayor George Electric, Mayor Bob Wallrau, they set up a business use district. And they taxed the businesses themselves. And that was the other option we had. Is do we create a business use district and do what those gentlemen, those administrations had done at that point in time. I felt, this board felt, it was less onerous on the businesses. Taxes are strangling us as we are. It was to be able to just say, okay, for 25 cents a half hour, or $5 for the whole night, let the person who's coming in and spending $100 a night over the bar spend 105, and keep that taxing pressure away from the businesses. You know, over the last 3 years, 3.5 years, businesses exploded on Main Street. And we're right, we've been commended for what's happened and the fact that it has happened. But now we have to deal with the consequences of that success. There's always those unintended consequences that you have when you have success. And I think that it's our responsibility to try to figure it out. And I think you're right. You know, we've already started to do appraisals on certain properties. We're taking a look at the properties, beginning to take a look at the funding now that's going through the years, with what we'll be able to bond, and be able to purchase, and be able to do, and how quickly can we get it done? Because I think what I'm hearing here, it's not just an issue of doing it, but there's the urgency of doing it. That it is about taking care of it, not 2 years down the road, but coming to some solutions very quickly. And make no mistake about it, this board doesn't sit out of mind, we never have making decisions. I'm a very impatient person. I like board meetings with 5 and 6 people there because people are reasonably happy with the way things are. These are not comfortable meetings. They're not comfortable for us. They're not comfortable for those that have to come up and quote register what they consider. That I don't consider a complaint, but they may consider a complaint that they're doing. It's not comfortable for you, and it's definitely not comfortable for us. Because what you're basically doing is you're challenging us to do what we're elected to do. And make no mistake about it, we take that part of it tremendously seriously. So, then I think the suggestions by David, the suggestions brought up are important ones. I think one of the ones that I found most interesting, and I hadn't really thought much about it until it was said, was the fact that we'll give a ticket to somebody who left their car on Main Street because they took a cab home. And now we give them a $25 ticket. They got probably a $45 cab ride and a $25 ticket. They're doing what they consider to be the right thing to do. We're going to punish them for that. That's something
I agree, but it's, how do we know that when a car's sitting on Main Street, it's.
Well, it's at the time when we decide to stop giving tickets.
Or maybe that's it, maybe we stop earlier.
Yeah, we take a look at that. But I think it's a suggestion, and it's something I hadn't thought much about, but now you say it, it's tremendous.
Yeah, just one of the things I just want to reiterate. First of all, how many more people want to speak? Oh, everybody's getting energized, huh? If you're going to say what somebody else said, if you have something new and fresh, please present it. But if it's the same, let's try to get this completed. In case you don't realize it, the money that is being collected by the parking meters goes into a specific fund to be able to pay for new parking, to light parking lots. Because free parking isn't really free. The village taxpayers have to clean the parking lots, light the parking lots, secure the parking lots, make them safe, resurface them, restripe them, do all those things, and those things cost money. This money from the parking meter goes into that fund specifically for parking, nothing else. And as the mayor said about purchasing properties, building tier parking, whatever, we're looking at about a $10 million project to bring more parking into the village. Because it's not just finding a space and putting a parking lot. We've got to buy properties, and then you've got to demolish them, then you've got to build parking lots. And property's not cheap. And I spoke to our treasurer today, talking about how much would it be to cost the village taxpayers to bond about $10 million over 30 years, and it's about $500,000 a year. Now, I think most people who are paying attention to government know that we are under a 2% tax cap, which makes it even that more difficult to do these kind of things on the taxpayer's dollar. So, as the mayor said, we need to look at other ways to do that, whether it's to tax the business owners to pay for that $500,000 a year, and you do the math, and I'm sure Lori or anybody else who owns a business here would certainly not like to get taxed any more than they're getting taxed today. So we look at the parking meter as being used by those people who utilize the service, which are people from mostly out of town who are using the services.
Which isn't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because if our businesses had to rely on only village residents to do business in the village, we wouldn't have a booming downtown. But somebody's got to pay for that parking. And if the business owners prefer to be taxed on it, we can work on something. And add an additional tax to each business, and then we can build these lots and build tier parking and to increase our parking. There are 3 to 4 different locations now that we're looking at to increase our parking system. So if the business owners, the Chamber of Commerce want to put together a plan and say, okay, tax us, we will do it. So that's all I have to say. Next. Larry?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees. My name is Larissa Fiala. I live at 18 Roosevelt Boulevard, East Patchogue. I do own commercial property at 83 South Ocean Avenue in Patchogue. I had an opportunity last month to show the upper level of my building to an insurance company that had 12 employees. Well, the end of the story is, the second time they came to really talk business with me, they couldn't park. So they said, let us know if something happens, lightens up, and the parking is better. And they have moved on. People come to our village for convenient shopping. They know we'll have certain things. My business, the Colony Shop, is fight like a niche, and they know what we'll have pretty much. They call up, you have it, but when they can't park, they're very frustrated. Another thing I would like to say, as we are now mentioning restaurants, my Lions Club has met at the Brick House Brewery for a few years. They're very happy. The service is good, the food is good, it's easy to get to, but now with the parking, all we hear is moaning and groaning. We tell them, park behind us and we will walk together. But that doesn't work. Some of the ladies just want to be within like 5 minutes and that's it. So they've talked about moving to other locations, Belport, Sayville, and we say, how is the Patchogue Lions Club meeting in not Patchogue? We're fighting tooth and nail to keep these ladies, 32 ladies, coming once a month to the Brick House Brewery. And we hope we can continue to have them stay in Patchogue to this nice restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the board. My name is Jerry Stein. I'm the exalted ruler of the Elks Lodge on Oak Street. Our organization has been in this village since 1915. We're now in our second building, it's the own. Our rolls at this point are about 160 members. Our median member age is about 65. There's no place for these people to park. I don't know what we're going to do. We hold meetings. We do a lot of philanthropical things, as you all know. We really need some help here. I don't know what else to tell you, but you're going to drive us out of town, and I don't know where we go.
No, my question is there no place to park because the parking lot is full?
At this point, primarily, yes. But when you meter it, most of our members are retired fixed income people. They just can't do it.
But that whole one? Okay, continue, sorry. No, I was going to make a comment, but
Well, we do need some help. And since we have so many members, one of the things that we can do, if possible, if you could give us some kind of largesse for our members to park on meeting nights or whatever, something. We had something a couple of years ago with our then exalted ruler, Scott Solano arranged. We really need some help.
what was that he arranged?
We had a little sticker thing that we put on our windows, and it allowed us to park. And we weren't ticketed. But we just need something. I mean, I've got a lot of seniors. The seniors, one of the weekly things that we sponsor is this group of seniors that come into our lodge once a week at no charge. They've already told us that they can't.
Now, what time is that meeting?
Their meetings would normally be, well, they're early because of who they are, 6-ish, and they leave about 8. Most of our meetings are at 7 and go to 9 or 10. We have a dinner this Thursday, the Junior Diabetes Foundation. We raise a lot of money for them, and they're coming to our dinner. We're going to work with the check. We do the same thing for veterans organizations, school organizations. We're getting involved with Girl Scouts at this point. We're involved in a couple of Boy Scout troops. There was a Court of Honor at our lodge yesterday, Eagle Scout. We do an awful lot. Any monies we come up with that are above and beyond our operating costs, we are mandated by Grand Lodge, have to go back to the community. And we do that gladly. That's what we're here to do. But we can't operate if we don't have any parking.
Unfortunately, at that time of the evening, you're competing for parking spaces with Parabel, Gallo.
I understand, and I am fortunately young and able enough that I can park and walk. But a lot of our members just can't.
Maybe those nice young people who go to those restaurants will park behind the Congregational Church and leave the rest of the spaces for you.
Right. If anything that you can do to help us, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Hess. I'm executive chef of that meatball place. And the problem that you have here tonight, the problem we have here in this village, I would venture a guess to say that many villages on Long Island would love to have your problem. I think it's a direct reflection of the great job you guys have done. This village has really come back. It's really exciting to be here. A couple things that I've noticed. I get to work sometimes on a Sunday morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I see enforcement officers ticketing cars that were left overnight. It happens pretty much every Sunday morning. I've also seen enforcement officers at midnight going through the parking lot with flashlights looking at people's windshields for their inspection stickers and registration stickers. I think that's a little bit of harassment. We're all in the people business. We want to make people happy. People come to spend money, don't mind paying for parking. One thing that I would offer, the restaurant business is a people business. We have a lot of people working for us. Sometimes I may have 25 people working at a shift. Look at every restaurant, 20 people in every restaurant. The parking lot's full of employees parking. I don't like that. I have no room for my customers. So maybe we can get some kind of shuttle service or trolley service or taxi service to park people remotely. We probably wouldn't mind paying for that because, again, that's more room for our customers. Maybe at the railroad station or somewhere else.
I think that'd be a great idea if the chamber or the BID wanted to, pay for a shuttle bus or whatever for their employees. It's a terrific idea. Because I travel around the parking lots is what I do for my enjoyment. And I'll go into your parking lot at Church Street at about 8:30 on a Thursday morning. I take my son to school, and there's more than 50 cars already parked in that lot. And those aren't customers. Those are employees from different various businesses. So in a parking lot that I think has 250 spaces or so, before 9 in the morning, 50 of those spaces are already taken up. So, you're right with the employees.
I work a 12 to 14 hour day. My car's in that lot for 14 hours. So that's, getting that up.
Employees should be parking furthest away, no matter where the business is.
Another comment I have is in the wintertime, it's very hard to see the numbers on the street to figure out the parking meter, which parking meter you're
Well,
at.
we have instructed the officers that if the numbers are not readable during the snowstorms or whatever, that they don't. Thank you. Yes.
Christy Joe Lang, 244 Ryder Avenue. I don't own a business. On Friday, I went to do some banking at Bank of America. My accounts have been there since my family moved here from the city many gazillion years ago. I would prefer to keep my accounts there. On Friday, at about 10 o'clock in the morning, I went to go do some business. 5 minutes I was going to be in there. There was no parking. When I went inside and saw that there were 5 people in the bank, I questioned, whose cars are these? They are the construction workers. They park all behind the bank. They park in the fire department parking lot. They have taken up all the stalls at the dialysis place. They also park in the dirt lot behind Gardening Village. So my question is, I pay almost $4,000 a year in taxes. Where do I park? I'm not paying for parking. Now, I've listened only maybe 10 minutes up here, and I've heard no solutions, no try-to-sees. It's easy. You have paid parking Monday through Saturday. Your business hours for someone like me are 9 to 5. Colony Shop is open 9 to 5. Why can't you stop the paid parking Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, so that someone like me can patronize the store? Someone like me can go to the bank. I don't mind the whole bar thing, that's fine, and all the restaurants, that's fine. But there is a business hour, 9 to 5 on Main Street, that no one seems to be addressing. And the whole thing is as a taxpayer, when do you start listening to me? My other thing is does the Four Corners get a tax break for the next 10 years?
I wasn't sure about that.
Parts of it does.
Parts of it does.
And then, but it escalates very quickly.
So I'm paying for parking behind the bank, they are not. Do you see what I'm saying? So when do I get to park?
You as a resident will not have to pay for parking in the lots. Okay, parking on Main Street, everybody has to pay for parking on Main Street. And that's, understand that. So you will be able to park free in the lots. Now, when you went to the bank, did you go to the Church Street lot, or what lot did you look at, or just on Main Street? Because the issue on Main Street, and one of the reasons why the meters are on Main Street, was because we had the problem of store owners and employees parking there all day. And it was really, stopping people from parking there like yourself. And now, if you go down Main Street on a regular day, especially in the morning, you'll see spaces on Main Street. You happen to be there at a time where it might have been busy. Now, what's going on behind the bank is,
That's a fight that we'll be having.
that's a fight that we're having with, but let me just continue. The construction people parking, we have addressed that issue throughout the village. And behind the bargain village, the Tri-Tech has leased that property out. So the construction people do park there. But we want them to park there. We've had this situation in the Oak Street lot, which we signed to make sure that nobody was parking there before 8 a.m. because the workers come there before 8 a.m. So it moved them out of the Oak Street lot. We've had that problem on South Ocean Avenue where the doctor's offices are, that strip of doctor's offices behind 89 North. We had the same problem, so they moved from Oak Street to 89 North parking lot, so we signed that lot. Now they don't park there. Now they're like, ants looking for a place to go, and we're pushing them out. Our next goal is to get them out of the Church Street lot. So we're pushing them to that lot over on behind the Barnum Building. And in the hospital, that's not our lot, and I don't believe that they're allowing anybody to park in there, unless construction guys, unless Tri-Tech has, yes.
There was not one.
I don't know about, that's not a village lot, so that's.
It was all construction, because I watched them walking.
All right,
But on Friday, when I went to park behind the bank, all the lots on Main Street were empty. No one was utilizing a paid parking space. That's what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with parking at night, even on the weekends. I know all these people complain, but I seem to find a parking space in the lot to go to the restaurant. Absolutely. But like I said, during Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, there's people who are shopping. The other thing is like Brick House Brewery. I don't know how they have a lunch crowd. I don't know how, and especially Brick House, I don't know how they have a lunch crowd because there is no parking.
well, I
none.
think people have learned that if you need to go to a place like that, you have to park behind Church Street. or whatever.
There was no parking behind the Old Knights of Columbus. There was no parking back there. And part of that is because the library employees were told to park there.
Well,
Because now the library employees are not allowed to park behind the library. So when I tell you there was no parking on Friday, there was no parking on Friday. And like I said, if you find something, someplace for the construction workers, at least to go, or block off 10 parking spaces. Like I said, your business is 9 to 5 during Monday through Friday. There is a way of,
if you do that, Christie, if you open up that Main Street parking from 9 to 5 to 3, those spaces will be filled all day. You will never get a parking space. Lori, do you remember
True.
those days?
Yes.
Right? They will be filled
That's
with
why we're
people.
fighting you not, asking you not to meet in the parking lot. Let them pay to park on Main Street, but please don't meet in the parking
So
lot.
that was the issue. I mean, parking meters came to the forefront when people were saying, you can't find parking space on Main Street because people would be parking there all day. Business owners, now you tell me, I don't know, it seems to me that shouldn't be. But it
I know
was,
that whole story.
you know.
But like I said,
We are working on that with the construction guys.
and it's very rare that I go to the bank, but on the day that I do go for 5 minutes, that I have to go inside instead of using an ATM, there should be some sort of parking there, even if it's 5 spaces that patrons can utilize.
Like we have,
Yeah, we may have to put some 15-minute or 30-minute spots there.
That's fine. The other thing is I just need to say something. I don't mind giving every dime I have of tax dollars to code enforcement, because I think that they do an amazing job. They really try to keep this village clean. I've never had a qualm with code enforcement. I will give you an idea. We're a very small village that a lot of people are starting to move into. Why don't we try looking at how we can utilize code enforcement and kind of making it like a gated community, where we use our boundaries as like a gated and they become our own safety. Like, I know they're ours, but utilizing them more than we, you know what I'm saying? Like, try to utilize them even more. I would love to say that I live in a gated or somewhat gated community than like the projects of Patchogue. Do you understand what I'm saying? This village is a beautiful village. I love it. I love living down south, even though it takes me 20 minutes to get to Sunrise Highway. I still love it. But like I said, for 5 minutes, I'm sure that you can find a solution instead of, I just feel like a lot of, okay, I'm giving you an idea. Whether
Well, we're
it's
not gonna
5
come up
parking
with solutions
spaces.
right here tonight. We're taking in all the information.
But like I said, at least I stood up here and gave you some sort of idea. Hopefully you'll take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Dennis?
Dan?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dan?
Evening. Dan Welsh. I'm one of the partners, one of the owners of 89 North Music Venue, and I also own another business in the village, Suffolk Recording Studios, which is in the same building as the Elks Lodge, right behind Blum's. Probably going to repeat some of the things that some of the other people said, but maybe I'll put another twist on it. But just to put a finer point or an emphasis, I went to the New York State Liquor Authority training. I'm tip certified, even though I'm not a bartender, but I own a bar, so I'm certified. And at that class, they really pounded it into you. Get a person into a cab who's drunk. Let him leave his car. Don't let him drive. Do everything you can to get the guy in the cab. Give him the money if you have to. Okay? Safety first. So I think it's important that something be worked out so that somebody who leaves their car overnight because they took a cab home, or even somebody else drove them home, and then they come and finally get a ticket for leaving their car overnight.
I think that as the village attorney mentioned earlier today, that would be something that would be addressed in the court.
Yeah, so it's something we can do in terms of policy, in terms of how we give out tickets.
I mean, we would have to change our time. I mean,
Something we can decide.
it would have to be, somebody would have to have something to put in their car as I parked my car here because I was drunk. Because there are some people who just leave their car to go home with somebody else.
Oh yeah,
Believe me, it happens.
that happens, sure.
So, you know, I mean, how do we regulate that? And we have one of our officers here who can probably attest to the fact that, you know, many cars are left in the parking lots, and probably some with signs in there, or somebody will write a note and say, look, you know, I left my car here because it wouldn't start, or I was drunk, or whatever. And I think that's, you know, something that we can address, maybe giving out tickets until 12 o'clock or whatever. But, you know, think of the difficulty it is for our officers to have to make that determination of why this car is parked here overnight.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then technically, you're not supposed to park a car in a village. What's the code, right? Yeah, parking a car in a village lot is in violation of village code overnight.
I think that's, which it really is something we have to take a look at, because who we are as a community has changed from who we were.
Right.
When we were running retail, that was like overnight, you know. Unless,
So what's the harm in the car being there anyway?
well, because, well, we don't on Sunday morning, get on Saturday morning, but, you know, cleaning of the lots, just, you know, it's part of the code, it's probably part of the code, it's like, you know, 62, I would suspect. It's wonderful, I voted.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at it, and I think that it's a point well taken. You want people, you don't want some guy to say, you better drive your car home because otherwise you're going to get a parking ticket.
Right.
And that's, that's the unintended consequence. Is the guy who's gotten it once says, the hell with it, it cost me $60 the last time.
Yeah, I'll take my chances, I'll drive, right?
Take my chances.
We want to avoid that.
And so we have to be very cognizant of that fact, and come up with a plan that doesn't make it.
Right.
Because all we are then is just forcing the way.
Now, I know a lot of people have talked about, like the woman just before, about the problems during the day. She can't get in the bank, that's a daytime problem. 89 North, most of our business is at night, and we have the same problem too. I've had clients, or customers, whatever you want to call them, who have come to 89 North religiously since we've opened, and recently have told me they're being a little pickier about which shows they come to. They're only coming to their favorite shows that I'm putting on because they're just getting tired of looking for a parking space.
Now, when you opened the business, did you realize that at all, or it's just something that just happened after you opened and you realized that, wow, there's no...
It's happened, it seems to have gotten really aggravated in the last year. It never came up the first year we were open. We celebrated our second anniversary April 6th.
What do you think caused that change? What was your...
I think there's just more happening in the village. You know, more places, more faces. You know, and as you've already repeated many times, it's a good problem to have. You know, when I moved here in '85, and it was like a ghost town. You know, half the stores were empty. You know, so it's a huge change. It's a good change. I'm part of it. But I don't know if you...
Now, how many, on a Good Friday night, how many people are in your business? And how many employees? I just get round number.
Well, in terms of people coming through the door, it could be anywhere. Some people come just for the early band, some people come for the late band. It could be 300 to 500 people.
And how many employees?
10, 12. You know, you actually have to count the band, because they're really employee of the night, so more like 20.
20 employees and 500 people.
Right.
Around it, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, and my recording studio draws people from all over Long Island, even from the city, to record, although admittedly in small numbers. You know, I don't draw like a retail store like Blum's does. I mean, they're select who come there. If they have to pay for parking meters, I'm probably going to have to reimburse them for that. Otherwise, they won't come because that's, you know.
They won't have to because the parking, the Congregational Church lot is all free. So they can drop their equipment off and park Congregational Church is about a 1 minute walk from regular businesses. So there'll be enough free parking in the area.
Okay. Well, anyway, that was the points I wanted to make.
Thank you. Dennis?
Make this the last question, last comment, please.
Yeah, this will be the last comment. Always to Dennis.
Speaking of guys, Dennis Foster, Main Street, and Trustee, I haven't met you yet, thank you. Congratulations. I say drop those meters tomorrow in those lots. The meters have solved parking problems in this village. I'm sorry, you people, you're wrong. The meters are solving problems, they're not creating them. The lots.
Look at us, Dennis.
I'm sorry.
Address us.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
They don't vote.
The spots split on the metered lots in the 15-minute zones. They have a slip of paper, drop those meters tomorrow, and then see where your problem is. It's impossible to tell what your problem is because, as one gentleman, the last gentleman to be here in the village, said it's the employees that are causing the problems. 300 employees on a Friday night. You know, that's the 30th parking.
We didn't say 300 employees.
No.
Oh.
300 employees, I'm sorry.
No, and that's something we really have to do.
Drop those meters tomorrow and put the paper in the slip and watch the problem solve itself. Because the employees aren't going to pay. And everybody wins.
Well, that's one of the things that we're really struggling with is how to accommodate the employees because you don't want to, you don't want employees who, and most of these employees are restaurant people. They're working at barkeeps and waitresses and waiters and things like that. And, to charge them an exorbitant amount of money to park in the village, rip their paychecks apart. So we're still working on a plan to how to get all this.
They could park it free beside me in Briarcliff. I park in Briarcliff and walk it.
Well, the ideal thing would be the employees to park way far away and walk to where they're going. We know that's not gonna happen, so we have to try to come up with a better solution.
I say put the meters out, get the number of the spots, use the paper. It'll solve.
Okay.
Excuse me, I know you said no more, but I waited my time. I got about a 5-minute comment, if you don't mind.
I'm just trying to bring this thing to an end.
I know. I won't repeat it. Mike Narduli, South Country Road, Belfort, and if it helps, I grew up on Bay Avenue.
Did you?
I did.
Wait, can you spell your last name?
Nardulli.
Which side of Bay Area?
This side, your side.
Helps.
I know. I have a business on Main Street, so when you talk about employee parking, I'm guilty. I started off with 3 or 5, I went to
What's your
14.
business?
Independent adjustment, we handle insurance claims. If I haven't seen you, you haven't lost your house, which is good.
What's your address?
If I say on the back side of 22 Main,
Where is that, 22 acres?
Gino's,
Oh, okay.
I do that.
Okay.
If you walked in the alley taking a Facebook photo, I've seen you, because everybody takes them in my windows, not one-way glass, and two-way glass, just on over. In the meantime, going forward, everything else has been said, I'll hash it out, I won't go over that, but I have a complaint about one of your businesses in town. Lars, we all know who it is, like to block off spots when they have an event, they'll put out metal barriers, almost like a bike rack, in front of 6, 8, or 10 spots, they're bringing 2 or 3 buses. The bus problem hasn't been as bad, because they don't think they have as many buses coming in, but their private lot was grassed over, they took away their parking. They put an outdoor beer garden there. In the recent months, maybe a year now, however time goes fast, they repaved that. There's a sign that says now, employee parking only until 8 p.m., which means the public can't park in that lot. Customer parking after 8 p.m.
That's their lot, they own that
I
lot.
understand that. Remember, we're sharing the same lots here, that might be theirs, and they use ours, if you want to put mine. In the meantime, what I'd like to see happen though is they block off spots for an event, which I don't think is right nor is it fair. And I did make a call last, I think it was Thursday, I came back late afternoon, there was no parking. I called the village, I spoke to a code officer, he said there's nothing that says they can do that, and there's nothing to stop me from taking the barrier and putting my truck in. So if that's something that can be looked at, where they're blocking out 8, 10 spots for
That's
their events.
incorrect. We have ticketed buses parked there, and anytime anytime they bring in a tractor trailer or a bus, we have, and if it's reported, now somebody's got to report it, and I'm glad you did, and that's what I tell everybody, whenever they see something, report it, call Village Hall, because we will give them a ticket for every space that they take. In fact, somebody who is part of the Emporium came to me and said, well, thanks a lot for ticketing I got 8 tickets.
And we'll say that they've managed to make spots on their own land for their bus. But they still block off, they move the buses onto the blacktop, which is their land, and they still block off whatever those 10 spots are.
Well, anytime you see that, just call it.
It's every Thursday, every Friday, every Saturday, now Mondays, now Tuesdays. I shouldn't have to call them because the code guys are there all the time, and they see
Well, they're probably getting tickets then.
for blocking spots. All right, second thing for me, if they have a private lot now that I can't park on before 8 p.m., do we have their dumpsters removed from your parking lot, so we got 3 spots? Tough one.
The dumpsters, they pay the spaces. And they have dumpster permits.
All right, in that case, I could at least have those areas cleaned on a regular basis.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you. Dave, you've been up once already.
I know, just one quick comment.
And real quick, how's
The meters-
how's your dad doing anyway?
My dad's doing good. The meters on Main Street. Any way there could be a canopy for rainy days. Because people spend a lot of time trying to figure out the machines. They're getting soaked. Because there's like 5 different steps you have to do to put money in the machine.
Yeah,
I know it has a solar panel on top, which makes it difficult. But some type of clear.
We considered it, the cost is, unless the chamber wants to sponsor it, we'd be more than happy to take the chamber to sponsor that or sponsor it. We can have advertising on it. Yeah, and they become informal shelters for other kind of sheltering. We are considering putting them in the parking lots.
Some type of like umbrella type of thing.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody who came down here tonight, especially I'd like to thank Dave Kennedy. Dave, you've been very instrumental in helping out here. And anybody who has their concerns, you can email them to me at jkrieger@patchoguevillage.org if you have anything else to say, or leave a message here at Village Hall. And we will take into consideration things that you said. And I'm glad everybody came here tonight because it helps us. As I've always said, this is a very fluid process. And the only way we're going to make it work is with the cooperation of the store owners and the residents too, because they have to be part of it also. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're gonna watch half the room clear out.
Oh, yeah, no, and there's actually an online